As I mentioned, this session is all about searching and finding the best talent with incredible position. In the session, we'll be talking about perhaps some of the challenges you may have with your tech stack and search stack technology at the moment. And also, Dave will be diving into a presentation of our latest DaXtra Search Nexus solution. My name is Adrian Farthing. I've worked in recruitment technology space for over 20 years with two very well-known CRM companies. So I do understand the challenges with getting recruiters to find talent easily and helping them construct the right searches to find those candidates. Quick introduction to David.
Yeah, hi there. Good morning, guys. My name is David Mercer. I've been with DaXtra for just over 5 years. And after Adrian's short intro, I'll be taking you through an actual demonstration of our products.
Nice stuff. Thanks, Dave. So if you haven't heard of DaXtra before, DaXtra has been innovating in the recruitment technology space for over 18 years. Our technology is founded in AI, and what AI means to us is natural language processing, which is the ability to read through vacancy descriptions and CVs and resumes to understand information as if a human being, an experienced recruiter, was reading that data, but also using machine learning with our technology to learn from over 100 million CVs that we process every single month and the 2 billion searches that we run every single month on our technology platforms, and use automation to help recruiters search and match the best talent with incredible precision. So we do that for over 2,500 customers globally today in over 40 different languages. So let's think about some of the challenges recruiters do face with sourcing talent. So perhaps thinking about where your search tech may be failing you today. So one of the most common things we hear back from recruiters is that they can't find the candidates quickly enough. And this is because they could be losing, could be great candidates in your CRM, you just can't find them. And that can be due to a number of factors, but generally it's down to the fact that there's either inconsistent or incomplete candidate data in your database. Often that CV, that information on the candidates in the CV are not qualified in the candidate profile. Secondly, look, we know it's really hard to build effective searches. Often the way that candidates write about their skills is not how the recruiter is understanding their skills and searching for them. And also, as a result, unless you're qualifying the data in the database, you need to use text-based searching or Boolean. But there are challenges with writing Boolean searches. You know, Boolean strings can be broken. It's not easy to spot mistakes with them. And it's, you know, recruiters just aren't coders at their core. Also, having worked with CRM help desk before, look, I understand that there can be problems with the search index. You're text searching, whether you're using Boolean or Boolean tools to search that data. If there are challenges with the search index, you're going to struggle to find those best candidates. And generally, that's, yeah, the index is not using term or natural language processing to understand that data. So if a candidate has written Java in their CV, do you know whether that is regarding an IT skill or in the context of a coffee bean and a barista talking about Java? Or are you thinking about the candidates and how they've written about themselves in the CV? Have they reported to the MD? That doesn't make them the MD. So search index technology will sometimes fail you because of these factors. Also, proficiency experience. If you think about the skills that are written in a CV over the number of work histories that someone's had that skills or qualifications or that job title, unless you're qualifying every single candidate that makes its way into the database and coding that information, then there's no way a Boolean search can be written to identify this. So I want to find Java developers with 10 years experience, or are they currently doing Java development? Or are they currently moving on now doing a .NET developer? So understanding proficiency experience of your data is tricky when you're using your searching technology. And then what this builds up to is unsuitable search results. Often if you're not getting the candidates, the relevant candidates at the top of the list quickly enough, recruiters just generally aren't going to trust their search results. And we mentioned about search index technology. Usually in the CRM, the industry standard is TF-IDF. And in short, what that means is term frequency. So if someone has written a skill term more than the next candidate, the local search will think that's the best candidate. Whether they could be using that skill 10 years ago or not is irrelevant to the search tech. And so what that means is that you get lost time working through search results, working externally, ignoring your CRM candidates, starting to search over social profiles and job boards, which are heavily used sources, and all your competition are working those sources as well. So these potentially where search tech is failing you today. I'm going to hand over to Dave to talk about our latest search technology, DaXtra Search Nexus.
Cool, thanks, Aid. So you should now see my screen, and you should see the DaXtra search interface popped up here. So yeah, I'm going to take you through a quick demonstration at a high level of how our solution enables you to find the best talent from across all of your sources, the most up-to-date record as well, with incredible precision. Now, this is our search interface. This will be typically inserted inside of your existing CRM, but today I'm going to do it as a standalone presentation. And there's two main ways to interact with DaXtra Search. Either you can create a match query off the back of a job description, or you can actually build the search query yourself. So I'm going to start with a match. That's nice, quick and easy, and then we'll come back and take you through a search as well. So, of course, normally you would have the job description externally, or maybe it's inside of your CRM, wherever you've got that job spec from. Today, I've just got it as part of a Word document. So I'm going to copy this and paste this into the interface, and it's going to build a query off the back of that. So there's a job title, there was some key skills, like this was for a network engineer, so there was VoIP, there was disaster recovery and backup, there was LAN, etc., etc. A lot of key skills that we're looking for to create a query from. We've taken the job title, network engineer. We've pulled out the key skills that we found in that job description. Now, you'll actually see some of our machine learning at play here is how we expand on these terms. So as we mentioned in the speed pitch, candidates describe themselves in lots of different ways, but they all often can mean the same thing. So, for example, there's lots of different ways that WLAN could be represented: wireless local area network, or WLAN, or LAN itself, or even VoIP. How else can VoIP be written across a candidate's CV? So we're automatically learning these using our machine learning of all the data we process and from your local database to provide you these comprehensive expansions, so that no matter how the candidate is describing their skills, we're able to pick that up and then score the candidates effectively. So I'm going to minimize this for a second. So that's to search over the local CVs within my CRM. Now I also want to bring in some external sources. I know I'm signed into Indeed. I've got an account with redacted candidate data. So bring in Indeed, and I'll come on to some of these other features shortly. But for now, I'm just going to run the search. So it's now going to take that query, send that across to my local database and my external sources, and then score the candidates based on their expertise and experience. So as Adrian mentioned, it's not just who's written these words the most times across their CV, it's actually finding these words in context and applying some intelligent scoring to that. Adrian, I think you might just want to pop yourself on mute. It's a little bit of an echo, if that's possible. So here's my list of results. I've got candidates coming back from all sources, which includes my database, your CRM or ATS you're working with, and also your external sources. And they're all coming back in order. So we're scoring the candidates based on their expertise, years of experience, recency of those experience as well. But you don't have to just take our word for it. You can actually hover over the candidates now with our brand new sourcing solution, and we will score them. We've got a sort of a Trustpilot-esque type scoring here. So you can see on a turn-by-turn basis, these are overall scores. And then on a turn-by-turn basis, how well have they scored with each of these terms from the candidate's CV. And that means at a quick glance, you can see which are the right candidates for you, ready to shortlist. So that was a match. And if you want to find out a bit more about our matching, please contact after this. We can take you through a bit more in-depth demonstration. But I want to come back and now show you how you can build the query yourself. So maybe you don't have a job description, or maybe it's a really niche role that you want a bit more control over the query you enter. So that's what I'm going to take you through now. And with DaXtra Search Nexus, our brand new solution, we are able to learn and expose the data that you have available like never before. So to show you, to start off with, I'm just going to type in a term. You don't need to focus on the term, there's IND here, just because it's going to bring me up all these different categories. So I'll walk you through what's happening here. So when we index against your local data, or all the CVs you have inside of your CRM or ATS, we are able to qualify your data into specific categories. So we can understand where has IND been represented as a skill across your candidate data, or as a job title, or as a company name, language, or even industry. And that just gives you real control. And that's where traditional free text or Boolean searches can fall down, because they don't understand where that word appears in context. What does it actually mean? They just understand that it exists, but not the context behind it. So if, to use an example, let's say we type in term Oracle. Now, for many of you out there, you'll know that Oracle can mean lots of different things across a candidate's CV. It could be a part of a candidate's skill set. It could be a part of their job title, a qualification they've learned, or even working for the company Oracle. So if I wanted to find, let's say the 30 odd candidates here that work for Oracle in my data, if I was to type that in as free text, I would get over 3,000 plus candidates coming back. And I then have to scroll through page after page to actually find the candidates that work for that company. Similarly, if I type in the term French, do I want everyone that's worked for the company French Connection in retail, or do I want everyone that can speak or write in that language French? So it's just giving you that control, making sure the data that's coming back is actually the data that you're looking for, and you don't have to scroll through page after page. So let's build a query. Let's go for software engineer. Of course, this solution works across all different industries. I just know a lot of the data we have is related to IT. So I've typed in the term software. I want a software engineer as a job title on their CV, and this currently will be at any time. So I've got almost 3,000 software engineers in my database to return. Now, what we do again is those same categories now follow us. So rather than looking for the skills, qualifications, companies, and languages for all of my candidates, it's now saying out of those 2,800 software engineers, what companies do they work for? What languages can they speak or write in? What qualifications do they have? And what are their skill sets? So straight away, without the need to code your candidates or run any reporting, you can see, where do all my software engineers work? The most common company they work for is called Medicare, then a company called Medical, then a company called, and then AT&T, then Bank of America. So it's in relevance order of most frequent of where they work. So let's build out this query. I could keep typing like I did at the start, or I can use these suggested terms. So I'm going to pick on some skills. I'm going to bring in Java into my query. Let's see what else we've got. Let's also bring in Tomcat, for example. So I can pick and choose the terms I want. Really helpful if you've changed subject matter, perhaps due to COVID, you're picking up some other areas of the business, or you're a graduate recruiter. You might not know all the terms to search on. We're feeding this back to you from the data you have to tell you what you can search on. So what it's built here is effectively, if we're talking in terms of Boolean, like an AND query. So it's software engineer and Java and Tomcat. But you're probably thinking, well, where are my OR queries? Well, what we do, just like you saw with our matching, we will auto expand these terms to provide you the aliases for each of them. So how else across my data set are my candidates who are software engineers describing their job title? They might be calling themselves developers, software developers, programmers, etc., etc. So scrolling through this, it's probably about 40 different terms here, all automatically updating, and again takes away the need to code, because coded lists are quite static, but this is always updating in real time based on the data that you have. So that's the automatic expansions. But if you wanted to add in, perhaps it's not an alias or a synonym, it's just another term you want as part of an OR, well, then you can include that here. So maybe it's software engineer or project manager, for example, and you can build that out yourself, add that to the list. So the best way to think about this is vertically, you have your ORs, whether they're automatically expanded or you enter them in manually, and horizontally you have your ANDs. And we do these expansions for all these different terms, depending on the data that you have available. Okay, so already with a few clicks of a button, I've probably got a 100-term query here, which will take quite a long time to type out if you're doing it yourself, and obviously is prone to make mistakes. And make mistakes that's quite hard for you to then go back and check, because it's such a long, effectively algebra to then go through and work out. Let's just bring in a couple of other terms. I just want to show you, with our term expansion, it's not just the direct synonyms. If I bring in, for example, another term, project manager, again, it's going to learn other terms as well, like perhaps spelling mistakes, project manager, project MGR. Also, if your database crosses multiple languages, it will also find the other translations for those terms. So chef de projet, or in here we've got it written in Russian, as well as we have French and Russian data that relate to project managers. So again, depending on the data you have, depends on the expansions that we can build upon. Let's also bring in another term here, company name. Let's bring in AT&T. Now, the reason I've done that is not only are we helping you build your query using our machine learning, learning from the data that you have, but now here's where you can get really precise. So on a term-by-term basis, you can set the parameters or the proficiency for each of these terms. So I've got software engineer or all of these terms, but when were they a software engineer? Is it their current job title or something that they did perhaps 5 years ago or within the last 5 years? So again, you can set that up and say, I want to find all the current software engineers or developers or programmers. With skills, you can set proficiency. So are they excellent with Java, or are they at least working, for example? Or maybe you want to set it by date, by time. So they need 5 years experience with Java. How often do you see a job description that's written 5 years agile experience, at least 2 years Scrum, something like that. So again, term by term, you can set this. And also for companies, slightly different. So it's, when did they work for AT&T? So sometimes you might have a non-compete. It's that they don't work there currently, and you can set that up. Or maybe it's that they've never worked there. They've never worked for AT&T, and because we've used our qualification, it's not that, silly example, but it's not that they've written on their CV, my mobile network is AT&T. Because if you do a Boolean query and you've got the best software developer, but their network provider is AT&T, you're going to lose that candidate out because it doesn't understand the context. But what we can do is say it's a company name that they've worked for, and therefore we can apply these extra parameters that they don't work there now, not currently, they do work there currently, or again within the last 3 years, or at any time, etc., etc. So just giving you real control to make sure that the candidates that are being returned, the top candidates, are the candidates that you want, because you've built your query correctly. Not that, okay, I've got 500 candidates back, I need to scroll through all of these to then find the best ones. So let's just bring it back. We'll bring it back to our search of software engineer and Java and Tomcat, and of course all the various expansions. We can now bring in some external sources. So currently I'm just searching the local database, but let's bring in, of course, whatever you subscribe to, we can bring in here. Let's just bring a couple of these in. We've got CB Library, we've got Indeed, of course, whatever you subscribe to, you can search over. We can set up radial searches to do a proximity search around a certain radius using our geolocation services. We can set recency of a CV. We can also pull across any structured fields that you might have in the candidate database to help you filter on things like availability, salary, typical things that aren't normally in a CV. Let's run that search. You can also set this search up to be a watchdog, or same with the match, so it will continuously run this search on your behalf and alert you when any new candidates are available across any of the sources. And the idea is that you're searching as if like searching Google or speaking to Amazon Echo. It's understanding and processing the natural language, just how things are written down to help you get to those best candidates. So again, we've got the scoring system for the local candidates. We've got candidates coming back, redacted candidates from CB Library and Indeed for GDPR purposes. But finally, just before I hand back over to Adrian, you might still think, okay, these are the best 195 candidates that I have available to me, but it's still too many. And therefore, you can further refine and further filter these based on this dynamic list on the left-hand side. So we'll pull out key skills and categories to help you filter down on the candidates. But for this example, I want to say, well, I actually want all the candidates that have updated their CV within the last week. They're going to be more relevant to the candidates that are 5 years old. So I can drill down to the 15 candidates that have updated their CVs within the last week, They all happen to be from Indeed in this example, and I could then say select all, and I can shortlist. And whether that's adding it to a shortlist against a vacancy or shortlisting it to a hot list or tear sheet or call list, that's up to you. We can point it at that right place within your database. So in quick summary, it's about getting into that best talent so you can shortlist them within your system a lot faster. And I'll hand back over to Aid just to wrap up.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Let's just share my screen again. Fantastic. So wrapping up there, just thinking about some of the challenges we spoke about earlier on in the presentation, how DaXtra Search overcomes some of these challenges. Firstly, about having that intuitive UI, which aids the building of complex searches for recruiters. We include matching within that technology as well. So taking a vacancy, understanding with natural languages, the skills and requirements from your clients, and then finding candidates that match those requirements. I've got a great candidate here that my client loves. I want to find more candidates like this. Or I've got a candidate I've just qualified on the phone. I want to find if I've got any live jobs or previous jobs that will match that candidate with your customers. Our technology is built on the foundation of natural language. A lot of talk about AI in the modern day, and especially around recruitment technology, but it means natural language processing for us, which is infinitely more advanced than Boolean searches, because we're understanding the context of language as a recruiter would read a CV or a vacancy. We can manage that taxonomy. So our taxonomy of learned terms, you spoke about earlier about the recruiter not necessarily knowing how the candidate writes about themselves in their CV. We've learned that over the 100 million CVs that we process every single month across 40 different languages, across 2,500 customers, to really machine learn those synonyms and aliases, so the recruiters can really easily find that talent within your CRM. Taking the machine learning one step further, we're learning off your data to present terms and job titles based on your data in your CRM. So you think about all those great candidates you got in your system. We're going to help you machine learn from that data and then help your recruiters build really effective searches, making suggestions of those skills and qualifications and companies that your candidates have worked for, but also thinking about those terms, being able to understand whether a term is in the context of a job title, if it's a skill term, if it relates to a qualification or relates to a company. So be able to search on companies where candidates are working for previously or working currently. We learn all that from the CV, and our ranking systems will help your recruiters get relevant results in their search results. And the question was raised is currently, can we do that over structured fields as well as CV? And the answer is yes. We process both the CV and the structured fields of your candidates to present a technology which will rank those candidates much more suitably and faster than you currently can do as well. And our automation tools, a question was asked earlier, CVs get stuck in inboxes. Well, guess what? We have an automation tool called DaXtra Capture that will automatically load all CVs into the database from any source. You can start getting automation working for you, whether you're using additional tools such as Herefish and Sense to really manage that data, get relevant candidates matching from job vacancies, automating that search to get candidates, and then you can start reaching out, getting the CRM really working for you. And we've got a session this afternoon talking about DaXtra Capture as well. I think we're pretty much bang on time. 30 seconds for any questions in the sidebar. If not, please give us a call or drop us a line. Our contact information is below. Thanks again for listening in.